Hey Israel, what you say?
Hey Israel, what you say?
How many kids have you killed today?
How many kids have you killed today? Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Long live Palestine!
The reports that are coming out are that 15 to 20 international activists have been killed on ships that were coming to deliver aid to a population now that's been under siege in Gaza for 3 years. And I think although that's the immediate cause for all of us being here, and that's the outrage, what we have to remember is the 1,400 Palestinians as well that died a year and a half ago, and the thousands that are being malnutritioned every single day with the siege that happens. And I think we're here also in support for those brave people who went on those flotillas and who are going to be the ones, along with everybody around the world, who are going to end this siege and end the occupation. And the first speaker I'd like to introduce is a local Palestinian activist from Gaza, Nael Sakar.
Like Wael said, I'm from Gaza City. I have family members still there. I share with them every day the tragedy they live under. There is no clean water. There is no sewer. There is no electricity. There is no medicine. This is unfair. This siege has to stop. What happened last night is a big crime. To see 19 civilian activists right in the middle of international water to be killed. This is a real crime. This is the real face of the Israeli occupation.
Yep.
We demand for our government, we demand our senators to stop blindly support the Israeli regime. Stop funding the Israeli apartheid.
All right, and the next speaker we have on the list is Lori King from Jews for Global Justice.
Everything that I learned in my Jewish upbringing since I was a little girl goes against what the Israelis are doing. And I just feel very strongly that Judaism does not equal Israel in any way. And there are many Jews in the United States and around the world who agree with that more and more. And it breaks our hearts. Every olive tree that's pulled up, every settlement that continues to happen, every time the United States gives a tepid, weak response to what is going on in the besiegement of the Palestinian people, it breaks our hearts. Many Jews are with the Palestinian people, want full justice, full return of lands, full rights, and so that we can all live together in peace. And we have to take this time of a terrible thing to turn it into something good and keep the pressure up so that there is no impunity for the Israeli government and the United States government.
Well, Das Hofan, co-founder of Super and a local activist.
Woo! All right.
Hello. Thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you for showing some support to the Flotilla, the Freedom Flotilla. What struck me the most is that the Flotilla have been attacked in the international water. We noticed that the United States recently attacking North Korea and condemning North Korea for striking South Korea in the international water as well. Now Israel is not, United States doing nothing about Israel striking the international flotilla, the flotilla inside international water. This flotilla was sent by the EU, by the Arab countries, by Kuwait, by Algeria, to go and break the siege on Gaza. To be attacked in this way, Israel is not above the international law. Israel should be under the international law, under the United Nations. Whatever United Nations tells it to do, it should follow. I was struck by killing 20 people, 20 activists, international activists in the international world. We are here today to show our support, to show that our condemning that attack. I hope every one of us today will do something to write to your senators, to protest, to do an emails, to do something just to show our support to our brothers and sisters down in Gaza and as well in the Flotilla.
Thank you everyone for coming down. I'm Peter Miller with Americans United for Palestinian Human Rights. And our next monthly meeting, we've decided we're going to dedicate to what the next steps are for what we're going to do for the people of Gaza and to further the work of these brave activists, some of whom have sacrificed their lives to help the people of Gaza. And our next meeting is going to be June 16th on Wednesday. And you can always check our calendar at auphr.org, Americans United for Palestinian Human Rights. So please join us. And I think some next steps are obvious, is to get the people who have been captured by Israel and the people injured by Israel safely back home, to try to get the aid that they with such difficulty tried to bring to the people of Gaza, to get it out of Israel's hands and into the hands of where it was destined, the people of Gaza, to demand an open and honest investigation into what Israel did and what international laws Israel broke, and to hold Israel accountable, and then to continue the work of these activists in breaking the siege of Gaza and making sure that Israel is held to account for what it's doing.
Yes. All right.
And a part of our work in Portland, the continuing work in Portland, is to educate our fellow citizens on what is going on and to strengthen the movement for boycott, divestment, and sanctions against the government of Israel for its actions against the Palestinian people.
Yes.
And this right now is Ron Wyden is what I call Oregon's man for Israel, is up for re-election. It's time for people to attend whatever functions our politicians go to, like Ron Wyden, and start asking him tough questions in front of audiences. That's an important thing. Another thing is that governments here in Oregon, like the Sam Adams office, our mayor, is trying to figure out ways to do more business with Israel. And we've got to tell our mayor that we don't want to do more business with Israel.
That's right.
Especially when they're killing civilians on the high seas.
Some of us are here today as Palestinians, supporting our fellow Palestinians in the West Bank, in Gaza, all over the world. Some of us are here as Jews, saying that this, what Israel has done, they do not do in the name of Jews. Some of us are here today as Muslims to support our brothers and sisters in Palestine, whether Christian or Muslim. Some of us are here as Christians of conscience as well, to say that this is not done in the name of their faith. All of us, though, are here on this Memorial Day as Americans, and we have a very important role to play in the conflict in Palestine, and we need to remind our elected officials that this is not an issue of Palestine and Israel. This is an issue of America. We're the funders. We're the political supporters. We are hand in hand with Israel every step along the way in its dealings with the Palestinians. So in your message to your elected officials, in your phone calls to the State Department, in your phone calls to all of the people responsible for continuing this relationship with Israel that puts us and implicates us in every step of the way with Israel, remind them of this fact and ask them what are they doing to make sure that their friend Israel is complying with international human rights standards, is obeying the law, and is ending its occupation over Palestine.
$2.3 billion. That's how much money you, all of us, are now going to be giving to Israel for the next year for military aid. $2.3 billion. How many jobs could we create for Oregonians with that kind of money? How much health care could we bring to Oregonians with that kind of money? But instead, that money is being given to a government which every day violates international law in its blockade of Gaza, in its occupation of the Palestinian territories, in its destruction of Palestinian houses and vineyards and orchards. How long are we going to tolerate our funds, our money, being used to support these illegalities? As all of the other speakers said, tomorrow each of you, start calling early in the morning your Congress people. Tell them that we will no longer tolerate the use of our money to prop up this illegal these illegal acts by this Israeli government. As Jews, as lawyers, as Christians, as individuals, as workers, as everyone, it's our responsibility, but most of all, as Americans, we need to do this. So promise me, tomorrow morning I want to see everyone here raise their hands who promises to make 5 calls tomorrow to their congresspeople to say, no more aid to Israel.
No more aid to Israel.
Next speaker is Max White with Amnesty International, who's done a lot of the documenting of the war crimes that have been done in Gaza.
You are in the right place at the right time. Amnesty issued an understated, put something rather in Amnesty speak, very understated. I'm going to read it in part this morning on their website. One of the things they said is, this blockade does not target armed groups, but rather punishes Gaza's entire population by restricting the entry of food, medical supplies, educational equipment, and building materials. This is an international crime. An international crime. Many others have mentioned that, but Amnesty has fairly recently documented the use of phosphorus munitions during the Gaza siege, as did Human Rights Watch. That's an international crime. They said also, and I again sort of understated, Israel says its forces acted in self-defense, alleging that they were attacked by protesters, but it begs credibility that the level of lethal force used by Israeli troops could have been justified. It appears to have been out of proportion to any threat. As a first step, Amnesty International has called on the Israeli authorities to make public immediately the rules of engagement issued to the troops who carried out this lethal attack. Thank you very much. You are in the right place at the right time.
And next we have Jenka Soerberg speaking to us about some of the ways that we can move forward the nonviolent and very effective boycott, divestment, and sanctions work here in Portland.
All right.
It's not enough for us to come out every time there's an Israeli atrocity and just wait until the next Israeli atrocity happens, which it's going to, and then come out again and chant and shout and all of this stuff. We need to engage in an economic campaign of divestment, boycott, and sanctions against Israel. This is what has been effective in South Africa, and this is what will be effective in Israel. So the campaign has a number of targets, and specifically right now there's a campaign against Motorola. If you're thinking about buying a Droid, don't buy it. If you want to buy a Motorola cell phone, write to the company and tell them why you're choosing not to buy Motorola, because Motorola has a contract with the Israeli military in order to provide communications infrastructure to the military. This is the effective means to fight this apartheid system. Both the apartheid system inside what is now Israel and in the occupied Palestinian territories. We need to have an organized campaign in order to really push for boycott, divestment, and sanctions in Oregon. So if you're interested, you can get involved through the Alpha website, which Peter mentioned, auphr.org. You can see me, sign up, get involved. We want to have regular protests at Motorola stores, and we also want to have letter writing campaigns to the companies and an actual boycott, not just talk about boycott and then you go out and buy the products anyway. You need to actually sacrifice your own economic benefit and choose not to buy these products, because that actually is effective when enough people do it. And I was amazed in the Israeli military video that came out that the weapons they were talking about were marbles. I don't know if anyone else saw that, but that was the Israeli military's video. Another thing that has completely astounded me about this latest attack is when Gabi Ashkenazi, the Israeli chief of staff, came out and said, we regret the loss of life. And
Barack Obama's spokesperson came out a few hours later and said the exact same words. We need to stop the Israelis dictating to the U.S. government what our Congress members, what our president has to say on these issues.
All right.
The U.S. government and the U.S. Congress work for us, and we need to engage in a serious campaign of sanctions against the Israeli government. If you haven't yet called your Congress member, call them now. Vote for alternative candidates that actually support Palestinian human rights and actually push the candidates and push the Congress members to push Israel to end its human rights abuses through a campaign of sanctions against Israel. Boycott, divest, and sanctions is the way that Israel is going to start respecting human rights, and we need to be the ones to make it happen. It's not enough to come out to a protest. Also, you need to get involved in the economic boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement.
My name is Said, and I'm from Bethlehem, and I was also shot by the Israeli forces where I met Wadah in rehab. I am a journalist with the International Middle East Media Center in Bethlehem, and yesterday and this morning I stayed awake until 8 just trying to realize what happened. I've seen the Israeli Navy paratroopers landing on the ship and opening fire immediately without any warning. And I've seen them knocking down the camera that was there that belongs to Al Jazeera. Israel tried to claim that the activists, the non-violent peace activists, used violence against them. What I've seen is paratroopers, heavily armed, dropping themselves into the ship and opening fire at the non-violent peace activists who were going to Gaza to send humanitarian supplies. This is not a new crime, and unfortunately it will not be the last crime because of the silence of the international community and because of the complicity of the U.S. government and of the complicity of several governments around the world. We have the responsibility to raise our voices loud and say enough is enough. We will not allow Israel to continue committing those crimes against human rights and against the basic principles of the international law. We witnessed another crime that targeted the international activists. Turkish and internationals were attacked and shot by lethal weapons, by automatic fire, and by a plan that was put forth several days before the attack happened. Israeli leaders were talking about their operation many days before they carried it out. They put the plan and they prepared the commandos and they prepared the attack way before the ships even sailed to the sea. That was a premeditated crime, another crime against human rights, another crime against the Palestinian people and their international supporters. It's time to say enough. It's time to impose sanctions on Israel. It's time to boycott Israel. It's time to end the occupation and to express our rejection to those crimes, to those massacres, and to the ongoing attacks. I've seen them yesterday distributing sweets. Some settlers were gathered and they were distributing sweets and they were clipping and they were chanting for the army and they were saluting the army who killed all of those people. It's time to say not in our name, not in the name of Americans, not in the name of the Jews, not in the name of the Palestinians, not in anybody's name. Enough is enough. Israel, over the past 5 years and longer, has systemically arrested, shot at, and killed any kind of non-violent resistance that has come out of the West Bank. That is now they are killing the international resistance that's coming. So what's being put forward is a lie. That this is happening because Palestinians are terrorists. These are lies. Palestinians have been fighting for a long time for their freedom, and it all depends on what we do here. The nonviolent resistance cannot continue without our voices here, without us ending American support for the occupation, American support for apartheid. And it's not only important to join the great groups that organize. We have Americans United for Palestinian Human Rights. Please speak to Peter Miller if you're interested in joining that group. We have, please speak to Jenka if you're interested on working on the boycott, divestment, and sanctions here. Please speak to me if you're interested in joining Students United for Palestinian Equal Rights. And if not joining, speak to us so that you can go back to your church, to your mosque, to your union, to your local community. Tell them about what's happening and make sure they're following the boycott, divestment, and sanctions as well.
Free Palestine!